Hello.
Hi.
Hi, welcome back. It's been a interesting setup here. It's funny. Huh.
Oh boy.
Welcome back to Tina and Norm and Shower Talk. And it's just how this is gonna go tonight. And we're not starting over.
No, we're not.
No. Episode 53.
Yes.
What are we calling it, Tina?
Oops, I manipulated again.
Yes, right. Loosely named after a famous Britney Spears song.
Yes.
Nothing to do with Britney Spears.
None.
Cricket's gonna raise hell the whole time.
Yeah,
So,
probably.
Yeah,
For no reason, but
absolutely
that's okay.
no reason. She rested, so she's up now. So she wants
Correct.
us to hear her. So.
Correct. Everyone wants to be heard.
Yeah. Wow. That's a whole different episode, right? So really fast.
Yes.
Shout out again to our friends at Soray Wellness at LA Tan.
Yes.
We were just there a little while ago.
Yes.
We did our laser treatment. For those of you listening at home, I just squeezed my boobs. If you couldn't tell.
And I went like this.
Right, yeah. You went like what, Tina? For those listening at home. Right. I did. I went like this. But we went and did our laser and our red light tonight.
Yes,
we're trying to get a couple episodes in because we're going to go out of town pretty soon.
Yep.
But it's going very well.
Yes. They're great there.
They are. They're always really good to us.
Very knowledgeable. They answer questions and the results are there. As a matter of fact, we saw a neighbor earlier today and she said, how's the treatment going? And I lifted up my shirt and I showed her and she goes, oh my God, it got so flat. How many inches did you lose? And I just laughed. We haven't measured yet, but
right.
I'm not unhappy to get that kind of a reaction. So
right. I can certainly tell a difference. My stomach sticks out much farther than my chest now. Which is okay because I can get my stomach flat on my own. I don't need to have them do a lot of that, and this will help us when we get there. But
absolutely. And we know that this is just the treatment itself. We haven't done meaning like we haven't done anything extra.
Right.
So we're not taking drugs. We're not doing any kind of program like weight loss program. We haven't changed the way that we've been eating.
Right.
The only thing different is in order to keep our lymphatic system draining the fat out, we're drinking a bunch of water, no alcohol and no carbonated beverages and minimum on the caffeine.
Right.
Other than that, and that's literally just for the lymphatic, but that's not a diet. We haven't, no. We just ate some Jets pizza earlier.
Most of those things, shout out to Jets, they're not a sponsor yet. No, we haven't changed any of that stuff. And it's not like we drank that much before even that it would make a huge difference.
Right.
Obviously, of course, drinking every little bit helps probably.
But we just wanted to prove the results were real results from the laser treatment only.
Right.
And being that we're honest people with integrity, we wanted to make sure that we didn't do anything to alter or, to where you don't know, was it this or was it that?
Right.
Was it a combination? Now we know it's just the laser.
For sure. So anyway, shout out to those guys if you want to check them out. We always tag them in the posts.
Yep.
Soray Wellness at LA Tan. They're in Wheaton. They have a couple other locations, but we go to the Wheaton location.
Call them for a free consultation.
Yeah, you could talk to any of them over there. Lorelai, Sky, Sam, right?
Yep.
Any of those ladies can help you out.
Absolutely.
So thanks to those guys.
We
appreciate them.
Yeah.
And they keep tagging us and stuff, so that's awesome too. But yeah, so oops, I manipulated again.
It's amazing. The word manipulation has so many different definitions.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about this, the way it came up was like, we know when we're manipulating people. And in reality, like lawyers, they're like, that's all they do is manipulate.
Oh yeah. Right.
I want you to win. I want you to come to my side.
Yeah. So
I'm going to do everything I can to manipulate you to come over to my side. I mean, it's amazing. Like, it's literally everywhere.
Well, I remember we were talking about it on the phone, and, we think of manipulation as the, as a bad thing, right? And and a lot of times it is in that context. But there's a lot of things that technically are manipulation, whether it's for the greater good or not. I guess depends on which side you're on ultimately.
Of course.
And what they're trying to get you to do or whatever, right?
Yep.
But it's still some form of manipulation,
Yeah.
you know, negotiations, or anything along those lines.
Or controlling the outcome.
Right. Right. Well,
that's the same thing.
I think that's what a lot of people manipulate for, is to control the outcome. They get to get the result that they desire.
Well, funny thing is, in such a small way, I'll be running a loan through automated underwriting, and I'll manipulate the data to get the result that I want.
Right.
Like it comes up as a refer, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, the person has 1 month in reserves, or I paid off this credit card, or I lowered their loan amount, whatever that manipulation is.
Yeah.
I manipulated it to get the answer I wanted. I mean, it's like such a stupid thing, but that's what I did. I literally manipulated the system to get my result.
And that's so to clarify, you know, because let's face it, loans are very important and they're regulated, right?
Yeah.
So to clarify for people that don't understand that, when you're doing that, you're trying to see what the potential buyer has to do or what they may have to correct. To get to where they need to be.
This is all during pre-approval. Absolutely.
Right. It's during pre-approval.
How do we get you approved?
Right.
Is the thing.
We
correct.
Have you pay off this credit card, what does that look like for you when it comes down to it? So that's the purpose of manipulating that information.
Right.
It's not to put them through, right?
No.
Well, we clarify because
thank you for that. Yeah.
You know, let's face it, a lot of people don't necessarily have
that's true.
a very good understanding of that this industry, or have a bad opinion of it,
that's
right?
True.
So we want to make sure they understand that that's just part of the process. That's
why I'm saying manipulation isn't, in this sense, is not a negative or quote unquote bad thing.
Yeah.
It's getting the result that we need for the person legally, within reason, everything else, like you said. But it's not, because we hear, you know, you're a manipulator, you know, like, and I think that's immediately a trigger for people. As soon as they hear the word manipulate or you're a manipulator, it's like instant, like, oh my God.
Because it's negative.
I know.
It's a negative connotation.
Normally it is, yes.
Yeah.
So,
well, it holds a negative connotation.
Absolutely.
To manipulate somebody means to mess with their emotions or mess with their head.
Yep.
Push their buttons to get them to do something
that you want them to do.
Correct. Whether it's to have them react a certain way, or to get them to do something that you want them to do. I mean, all of that is to get them to do something you want them to do, whether it's elicit a certain reaction to make them look bad or show some sort of emotion, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I think part of what we were talking about was when families, parents, or kids or whoever use the emotional manipulation, like to get what they want, you know, to like the guilt trip is like a huge manipulation tactic. Like using guilt on people. I think that's like a whole different level of manipulation personally. Because I feel like that's negative to me. Because you're trying to get someone to do something that they don't want to do, don't need to do, don't have to do.
Right.
Typically, or it goes outside of who they are.
Right.
It's what you want, though. So because of it, you're trying to get someone to not be themselves. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a higher level of manipulation.
I think so many things fall underneath the umbrella of manipulation. Right. It's a greater umbrella of stuff. And, you know, when you're talking about that, like blackmail, right? Blackmail is a form of manipulation.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to give you money, or you're going to do this, or I'm going to put this information out there, because I want this from you.
Yep.
Whether it's they want money or whether it's they want information or whatever. And guilt is just another form of, it's just another subcategory of manipulation / blackmail.
Kind
you know, especially when you talk about families, you know, family guilt is probably one of the biggest ones. And we could talk about it because you're Italian, right? But that's not to say that I didn't necessarily experience, how do I want to say that? I'm sure I experienced it in family, right? For us, parents do it to their kids all the time, right? And they do it under the guise of, well, I know what's best for them, right?
Yes.
And I guess it depends on their age. That's what they're tasked with, but they will push buttons. Whether it's, I mean, a great example we've talked about before is in at least the Italian culture where you come from, getting married at a younger age, having kids and a family is how it's done, and the family stays around the family, right? We've talked in the past about how your grandparents always wanted your dad and your uncle to hang out with family members, their cousins, and make them their friends instead of going outside of the family and having friends outside of there.
It sounds so funny when you say it like that.
It's pretty fucking ridiculous when you think about it.
But it sounds like so mobster.
Well, it is.
Outside the family.
Hey, nobody said anything about a mob. What's that? I never heard of this thing, this mob thing. We're kidding. Nobody show up at our door. Okay. Please don't blow up my car. I think, and it's funny to think about because at some point in time, they're going to marry and they can't marry inside the family. It's not like we're talking about, 1700 royalty here where they're going to share amongst everybody.
Yeah.
They're going to marry outside the family, which is going to bring other people into the family. So
they always have a say in that though, too, or feel like they should have a say in that.
Yeah.
Which is,
of course. So I think, it's just ridiculous. It's
a lot of control, like big time control.
It's only control if it's allowed.
But it's almost always allowed.
That's, and this is the tough part. So for those of you that are in a situation like that, let's say family is again, using family, you have to recognize when it's happening. And if you know it's happening, you can put a stop to it. You can end all of that. You don't have to play into it.
Yeah.
It's well, realistically, can you tell me why your grandparents thought that way?
Well, it actually wasn't my grandparents. It was my grandmother.
Yes. Okay.
Because my grandma liked control.
Yeah.
And she wanted to control who was around, who talked to who did what. Like she was literally the master manipulator and the controller of information.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted somebody 10 people down the line, all I have to do is call and tell her something, and the grapevine went all the way down the line.
Right.
We used to laugh about it actually, but I think it just, I mean, again, part of it is generational, they were first generation here, so you stick together because technically they're, from a different country and, so you want to stick together with family.
Sure.
So I get that. And I've never shit on that. I always loved being around my family. Like I loved our Father's Day picnics and Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving. Like I loved all of that. I loved hanging out with my cousins and my grandparents and my parents and everybody else. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to live for that shit. Until, then you start getting a little bit older and you start seeing things aren't really what they look like. Right. And some people are there because they're forced to be there and they don't want to be there, or whatever secrets are being hidden or whatever. Right. It just gets kind of, and then you're like, I don't know. It loses its whatever. And that's when you realize that it's okay to break off and you want to be somewhere else and see, because a lot of times you get out of there and you're like, this is what life is like out on the outside. And that's not what we do over here. So that's kind of interesting. And I think that was part of her control thing, was she was afraid that if you had this taste of freedom on the outside and you saw there was other things to do other than just what they wanted you to do, that now you were like, you were never going to come back. I almost feel like it was like an abandonment thing. Like, They live like afraid of like, I'm going to lose the whole family. And I'm going to tell you why. I just thought of this because I remember, so I loved all those holidays were fun. Both, there was just a zillion people at my uncle's house or my grandparents' house for Christmas and New Year's. And I remember we always had a blast as the little kids and then the, teenage kids, whatever. And then of course we saw the older ones leave and go hang out with their friends on New Year's Eve. So it was kind of like, but I was always the one who was like, I'm not going to go off and do that. Like, I love being here with everybody and having a great time. And I remember as I got older, my grandma, like there's supposed to be 40 of us there and there's 39 of us or 38 of us there. And her main focus the whole night was on how that one person or two people weren't there. Like she was pissed off and bitched about it and was upset about it and talked about it with everybody else. And she was all upset, but didn't relish and enjoy the fact that the other 38 of us were all there or whatever. Right, and I remember older, like in my 20s, I remember talking about it with a friend of mine, and he had said something and it triggered me, and I was like, I'm gonna focus on who's here right now with me. I'm not gonna focus on the people who aren't here because that's what she did.
Right.
And I think it was because it bothered her that those are the two horses that ran out of the stable that she couldn't control anymore, and it used to piss her off.
Right.
Because you know what I mean? I think as I get older, I feel like there's something of like an abandonment piece. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in a different place.
Well, different. I would definitely probably say that's very true for, I'm going to say immigrant families. Like sense. You started to say, they came from nowhere. Mm-hmm. They trusted what they left. Yeah. But they knew they wanted more.
Right.
So when you leave, you have to find, you keep your family around because there's
that's who
there's safety in that, right? There's security in that.
Yep.
Versus being alone and trying to figure it out.
So it makes sense.
It does make sense, but that was to some extent
70, 80 years ago.
Right.
That's not
well,
now.
But we've even seen society-wise, we've even seen how that it's not everybody's living, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, kids in one big house, like you always saw.
Right. Or next door to each other.
Right.
Across
all
the
in the same neighborhood. You just don't see that nowhere near that what you saw even 30 years ago. Right. I was thinking when you told that story, I was laughing because I told you this story before, but when this one time my parents decided to have I don't remember what they decided to have some sort of a party at their house. And me and my ex, we just didn't want to go, right? There were people there we didn't want to deal with. It was like, I don't want to deal with all this shit. So we didn't go. And my dad, I think they had called to check and we told him, no, we're not going to come out there or whatever. And then I know they were riding in the car and he accidentally butt dialed me. And this was early on with cell phones, right?
Yeah.
He butt dialed me and he was bitching that we weren't coming. And I thought that was some of the funniest shit ever. Like, wow, dude. But it didn't do it to me on the phone, right? They didn't manipulate me. And I'm trying to think back as a kid. I don't think we had a lot of that, while family was important to us, of course, it was always our core, my parents, my younger brother and sister, and then for a while, my two older brothers. We were together and we moved together and lived together. And then, as my two older brothers got older, they just kind of went off on their own. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of us stayed. And then as I got, when I became an adult, I moved out.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, but we didn't necessarily live close like that. Yeah. Because we weren't, honestly, I don't know where I come from as far as heritage wise goes.
Yeah. You're a mutt.
I'm a mutt, and we, I'm sure there were some immigrants somewhere in my family, but are probably more Native American here than immigrant. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to think about how you guys tried to keep that, and my family didn't do that at all. We would move to certain areas where family was. Mm-hmm. And there were times we lived close by them, or with them, but not that much. Yeah. And usually it was, well, we're going to come out there. So we'd stay with them for a while until we found a place to live. And then it wasn't like next door. Typically it was a ways away.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to think about, but it's a whole side topic that probably I didn't need to go down because there's nothing to do with fucking manipulation. But
you said that you didn't have it.
Right.
So I actually always love and still do love being Italian. I love my heritage. I do love I never was against the traditionalism. Like I have a lot I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved a lot of those traditions.
Oh, I think it's awesome.
I think
being part of that.
I mean, Italian people are some of the warmest.
Yeah.
When they let you in the house, open arms, family, just amazing. Yep. And I'm not saying there aren't other cultures.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of other cultures that do the same.
Of course.
I can only speak from my experiences growing up Italian. However, with that comes the other stuff. So like I was someone who, unfortunately for them, was not easily manipulated. Now, I was in a lot of ways when I was younger, in the sense of when you're a kid, you don't really have a lot of say. Your parents tell you to do something, you shut the fuck up and you do it pretty much, whether you like it or not. There isn't like now where the kids control the house. In my house, that was not happening. In my house. I was terrified of my dad most of my life. My mom knew that, so she would always be like, wait till your father gets home, or she would call him at work and tell him, this is what the girls did today, whatever.
Which is another form of manipulation.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, holy shit, it's like literally. So then I realized that manipulation, a lot of times, fear.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things we're experiencing in the world, in our country, is this fucking fear.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, the more scared people are, the easier they are to manipulate. And then the other thing, right, is fear. And then a lot of times, I just had this discussion with someone a couple days ago. If you don't understand something and you're afraid of it, you might hate it. You hate it because, I'll use like people say they hate exercise, right?
Sure.
They know they need it, whatever, it's good for you, whatever, but you don't want to take the time to exercise. You hate it because, you're not afraid of it per se, but it's just, it's like whatever. But you also get the fear of, if I don't do it, I get sick, or I get fat, or, whatever.
Heart attack.
Yeah, like all these. So it builds up this fear that you build up and everything else. And then there's a hate. There's like hate and fear kind of. So it's like, if you can take the time to deconstruct what it is that you're afraid of and realize that it's probably not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
I feel like there's less hate. And I feel like that happens with people. Like I grew up in a neighborhood that was white, Italian, Catholic, Irish in there.
Sure.
We didn't really have any people of color. We had one Korean family, but we didn't have any Hispanic. We had no black people. That was just the neighborhood I grew up in, Catholic school, whatever. And then you don't grow up fearing them, but you don't know anybody. How do you didn't grow up around it, so you don't know culture. Just like if I grew up in a black neighborhood and I'm a black person who grew up in a black family and whatever, I don't know what it's like to live in a white neighborhood or go to a white school or to be Catholic or whatever. Like, so I mean, to me, it's like the whole thing around the fear of each other and fear of the cultures and the fear of the differences. I don't understand it, because it's like, it's not, find out what it is. You either like it, you don't like it, you don't have to be part of it, whatever, but that's how you live together. You know what I mean? That's
absolutely.
That's the whole let everyone be themselves thing.
I think
that's part of the fear and manipulation.
Part of that comes from, though, again, it goes back to family and how they view or how they've been treated in their experiences.
Yeah.
They're trying to protect people from it.
control the outcome.
Well, they are trying to control the outcome. So you don't get to experience those things until you get older. As you become a teenager or an adult, a young adult, you can venture outside of that if you desire it. Yeah. The problem is there's a number of people that, I mean, let's face it, even looking at the neighborhood you live in, there's still a lot of people that still live in that same neighborhood and stay in the neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood is changed over the years, right? There's other nationalities, maybe I'll say, have come into the neighborhood and it's changed. Yeah. But they still live in their bubble, and they're not going to get outside of that bubble because,
well, it's what they know.
It's safe. It's what they know. It's comfortable. But part of that is that's what they were taught. You know, right. That's what they were taught because of those cultural differences, and fear. You know, fear is a great manipulation tool.
I know. I mean, it's like, remember, that's how this whole thing started, was holy shit, fear is manipulation.
Right. Well, I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, because I remember I was riding in the car and you said something and I said, well, yeah, but then I gave a bunch of examples of manipulation. You're like, Jesus Christ, it's all over the place. You know, I'm like, well, yeah.
Like, legit. Never thought of it that way, but it really is.
Everything.
The guilt. Everything. I think it was, we were talking about I think it was somebody in the family was talking about somebody made someone feel guilt, or someone tried to make someone feel guilty or whatever. And it didn't work. I was like, damn, that's like, you're manipulating them. And then I laugh because I know that there's, you know, if I want, and I don't do it to you, but we would laugh if we're trying to manipulate each other right now. Like, we could laugh because, again, it's not, it's because we're never doing anything with the intention of hurting another person, which I think that was what it was, right? So did you just get the light bulb?
Yeah, some of it was, I was trying to think, it's when how do I want to put it? I think it was with one of our friends was doing it, and it's with us. So the actual example is receiving, right? Yeah. So you had a situation where a friend of ours in the neighborhood, so Tina goes and gets a massage from one of our friends, Amanda, and Amanda wanted to do the massage for Tina for free, right? She wanted to gift it to you.
She did.
And you were reluctant to let her do it because she's working for that, you know. Correct. And everybody can use the money, you know. She could use the money, but she had wanted to do that. And usually you do pay her, but she wanted to do this for you. And you know, you're like, she's like, you know, you have to, whatever it was she said, something along the lines of either you have to receive it or why won't you let me do this for you?
And why won't you receive it? Yes.
Right. So that is guilt. It's manipulation. Now, for the good, right? So we have to, as good people, right? Yeah. In general, right? I'm not saying you and I, you know, I'm not boasting here as good people. What I'm saying, I can't wait to see how that looks on camera, by the way, the face I just made. I feel like, as good people, you have to receive. So you may be this person that wants to give. Yeah. But you also have to be willing to receive, because people want to give back to you as well.
I know.
And that's very difficult when you are a giver.
Ain't that the truth?
Yes. So you have to let it happen, because if you don't do that, you're taking that joy from that other person.
That is correct.
And ultimately, they're just doing a good thing.
And she knew that
for you. Yeah, of course she knew it. She knows it because we've all talked to our wonderful friend June, and we know a lot of these things. And what are you gonna fucking say? I know. Right? Because you know it's a gift to allow her to give you a gift.
I was super grateful and at the same time uncomfortable because I don't ever want anyone to feel like they have to do, and she said, I didn't have to, I wanted to. And I was like, yeah.
And if you don't allow her to,
I know that it's not fair to her. I'm stepping on her a little bit too, because I'm not letting her.
You're robbing her of that in a sense. But
that's the hard part.
Right. So that's good for people to know that.
Yeah. Listen, it's a lesson that both of us work on. You and I both work on this all the time.
I'm very bad about it in some instances.
Me too.
However, she knew it, but this is an example where it actually is beneficial for somebody.
It was manipulative, but it was not.
It's to remind,
a negative
right?
Manipulative.
So, Amanda, if you're listening, we're not being critical.
No,
it's actually a great thing.
It really was. But it was a great, it was a great example of good manipulation.
In the conversation that came up, I said, "Well, she manipulated you by using something is right to do."
Yeah.
To get the result that she wanted.
Yep. She did.
She's smart. It was all good for everybody.
Absolutely.
So, but it's still manipulative, It's just in a good way.
The news is manipulative.
Oh yeah, that's.
I'm just saying, like, the news gives wrong. I mean, I just read something that was incredibly wrong, on a news page. I have the proof of it on my own. It was the iPhone thing.
Yes.
There was the news thing. Someone showed that there was they were talking about a $700 tariff on the iPhone 16, and I went into Apple Store and I put an iPhone 16 in my cart.
Yeah.
And went all the way to the end to pay for it, and lo and behold, there's no fucking tariff. There's no fucking $700.
Right.
But there's 1,000 people that are upset and pissed and bitching, and I'm like, why? And I think what hurts my heart is watching all these people be manipulated by fucking liars. I think that's the part. I think that's probably the part that I hate the most about all of it, is to watch people be separated over absolute fucking lies.
Yes.
That's the part that drives me the most crazy.
100%.
And it's like, I had it and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go, and I showed it to you because I was angry about, like, because, we're truth seekers, right? And so I'm like, oh, if this is real, this is bullshit. And then, of course, I even went into the article that said that Apple is exempt from the tariffs.
Right.
Even coming from China. So I'm like, why is this buried all the way down here in this instead of, so the manipulation is the fucking headlines.
Right.
And then the people who know that share just the headlines, people have to be better about not letting themselves be manipulated for that kind of stuff. Yeah. For that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
They have to take the time. So how many people out of using that number, 1,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. Comments, pissed off, angry emoji, whatever.
No, nobody read it. Nobody read it.
Well, how many people you think even bothered to go?
They didn't.
Try it themselves.
To do what I did and go to the Apple store to find out? No.
2 maybe.
I don't think anybody.
And you were one of them, right?
I didn't read all 1,000 comments, obviously, but
no,
I guess
of course.
My point is I will not allow myself to be manipulated, and I'll do with that bullshit.
Yeah.
And I will do everything I can to try to educate as many people who want to understand. And when I say educate, I'm not saying take my side, agree with me, and listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying do your homework.
Yeah.
And make sure that you understand what you're reading, and then it's the truth. So, and it's okay to be different. We can't say that we could be different, and then when there is different, oh, forget it. Delete me. Don't friend me. Hey, I hate you.
So can I make a point about something?
Can I just I should have worn my shirt that said, watch out for flying hands. Okay, right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, just please.
Yes, what were you going to say?
The point I was going to make is one could argue that you were manipulated by the article anyway because you got pissed off about it.
That's 100% true.
Right?
That's true.
So they wrote it and you got pissed off about it.
You're right, I did.
We've seen some other stuff recently where...
Damn, I did get manipulated.
I know, right? I knew you were going to say that. Right. So
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. But that's, you don't think about it because you reacted that way and you got pissed off anyhow.
I did. I got pissed off for people it's hurting people intentionally, and I don't agree with that.
Right.
But anyway.
Right. And we don't know. They're
doing it to themselves as well because they're not reading and they're just spreading the lies and the gossip without verifying. So that's partially their fault. But
I say that to take it one level farther when we're talking about this, because it's meant to get people upset about it and take one side versus another, right? For whatever reason. Or the article says this, but then you get down to that last 4 lines that says they're still thinking about doing it. But
this is all bullshit.
But it was sold as gospel with the giant bold headline.
I know.
And how many people have iPhones and how many people want to go get a new iPhone every time one comes out, but you're going to be fucking madder than hell if you have to pay an extra $700 bullshit dollars.
It's not true.
Because of
I put it in my cart.
Because of a quote unquote tariff.
It was a lie. It was a lie.
Yeah. No,
but you're
I know.
Right.
I know. But ultimately, you got mad at it. Now, I don't think that was the effect of the article. I don't think that's what it was. But
no, they were trying to get everyone mad about whatever and move everyone over, trying to get whatever.
You got mad at it for a different reason.
I got mad at it because I don't like bullshit.
Right.
I don't like when someone feels the need to lie to me or anyone else to get them to believe what they want, because that means either you're an evil person.
Yeah.
Or you're someone who thinks that everyone else around you is that fucking stupid that you know better and that you have to manipulate everyone to take your side.
Well, I think yes, and I as you were talking, I was thinking about media in general, and there's a lot of people that will say, well, the news isn't what it used to be. The news ain't what it used to be, right? The days of Walter Cronkite and those people back in the day told the real news. Well, did they? Like, ultimately, so you think about, everybody has a stage now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can be a quote unquote fucking journalist or news anchor, right? Editorial pieces, right?
Oh God, don't get me started.
So because everybody's got an opinion, but they have the ability to publish their opinion. Way easier than they ever did before.
Absolutely.
Before there was a vetting process. The only thing that I would argue is people controlled that vetting process back in the day.
Yeah.
So those that had actual honest, real opinions or factual information didn't always necessarily get through to publish their information or report on their information because it was all controlled. Whether it was controlled by what the, not to sound conspiracy theorist here, but what the government decided they wanted to leak out, or have reported, or what the news decided was good for you to see and not for you to see, or how bad this war is, or our side of this war is in what's in the news.
Well,
it's all manipulated information, and it always has been. We just trusted back in the day with the Walter Cronkite eras. We trusted. We thought we could trust what we were being told, but it wasn't always 100% honest.
And you just made me think of this as well. Then is the reality is that if you go to a seminar or read a book, like this author says it's good to eat butter. This one says it's not good to eat butter.
Right.
You know what I mean? They both have very compelling arguments. They both have data. They both have...
And where did the data come from?
Whatever they have, right? Well, they both have. So let's say these two people have this data on butter. Good butter. Butter's good for you. Butter's not good for you. It's true that both sides are trying to manipulate us to get us over to their side. Like, I'm old enough to know that I get it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of funny that I never thought of the word manipulate.
Yeah.
Like, we're all litigators and we're all trying to get someone over to our side. Like, honestly, you're arguing your point to get me to take your side. Okay. The problem I have is, like you just said, I want to know. So for me, I would want to hear the good butter story and the bad butter story.
Yeah.
And then I would take those two stories from there, and then I would make my own decision as to which is better. Am I neutral about it? am I more on the good butter side? Am I more on the bad butter side? But I feel like it would be my decision to make. Yes. So I don't feel quite as manipulated because of it. The problem is, it seems like there's so many people trying to control. I just saw, and I think I just showed you, there's some guy selling a book, How to Become a Master Manipulator.
Oh yeah. No, that exists.
It's like this black
it's been out for a while,
fucking book of how to manipulate. And I was just thinking, like, what? Like, I'm speechless about it. Right. Like, it's like kind of funny. Like, so what you're teaching people, it's like you're teaching people to lie and separate each other. And like, you're trying to take away harmony. And, like, I mean, honestly, like, it's just like, it's constantly trying to segregate. So my question is, like, the reason I would read both sides is, why is this side trying to tell me, why is this butter person trying to tell me something about this? But like, right.
Depends.
But it's like almost everything in life. Like, when everybody wants you to take sides, why?
Yeah. So I think it depends. Well, no, because it's
why does everything have to be a side?
When you have, so first off, I just want to say, how can butter be bad when it tastes so good? Okay.
I just was using something stupid,
simple. I know, but using your example of butter.
Yeah.
The good butter, the good butter side that says, butter's good for you. Or not bad for you, maybe we should say.
Yeah.
And the other side says butter's bad for you. So, the good butter side is their factual information is sponsored by the American Dairy Association. And then the bad butter side is sponsored by the vegan lovers of America, right? So here's your data on this. So now
I know it's all manipulated.
Right. All that data has been pared down to make the points that they want, because they have a certain set of values that they feel other people should be adhering to, and they want them on their side. So,
I just don't understand why that's so fucking important.
Here's the greatest manipulation of all: religion, right? Religion's the greatest manipulation of all. And I'll use Jehovah's Witnesses as an example. Now, listen, I'm not talking shit about you guys as Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm all about you having your faith, okay? There's nothing wrong with you having faith, but they have to witness. That's why they show up at your door, knocking on the door. I've had friends that were, one of my aunts was Jehovah's Witness.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, at least at the time, they had factions within their own Kingdom Hall, and it was those people that were more devout, and then there were the others that weren't quite. They didn't intermingle with one another, but they also believed that outside of there, you shouldn't intermingle with non-Jehovah's Witnesses, because they can lead you astray,
right,
from the goal.
My grandma,
right, essentially, kind of the same idea. So. But they're doing it because they have I don't want to say they have a moral high ground. That's not what they have a concept of what life and the afterlife and all of that is going to be. And if you're not in that, then you're not with them, and they can't mingle with that, because they could be pulled from going to heaven. Right. And that ultimately is the goal for them to do. So and you have a great example of that. You have the story. Tell the story of church where you
the one that I talked to with our friend over here at the pool.
No. You told me a story once that
about how they left pieces of the story.
Yes,
out. Yeah,
right.
That's what I chatted about with.
Oh, okay.
We have a friend. We have a friend that lives here that listens, and he we will talk about sometimes religion and all that. And I told him I very much believe in God and have a relationship with God, but that as a I used to go to church because I had to, because I was Catholic, born and raised Catholic. So going to Catholic school, we were forced to go to church.
Yeah.
However, I liked to go to church by myself anyway. I found it therapeutic and I enjoyed it until I decided to read the Bible on my own. And I was in my early 20s, I think, at the time. And I remembered some of the stories from church, and there was a lot of pieces left out.
Right.
Like a lot of pieces left out of the stories.
Right.
And I felt manipulated.
Yeah.
I felt manipulated. I felt that I didn't get the whole story. And it changed me a lot. It really bothered me that somebody was trying to control the way I thought and all the rest. So it was a big turn off for me at that point in time, where I decided not to go to church anymore.
Right.
And again, believe in God, pray to God. You know, I know God's gotten me through so many things in my whole entire life.
Absolutely.
Very spiritual person. However, I did not like that part of it. Right. It was very bothersome to me when I realized that there were parts that were like some of them were like really bad parts too. Like, and at first it's like they left them out because they were bad parts, and then it was like, well, but then it doesn't fit like a narrative or whatever. And I'm not personally not okay with that part of it. And I love my friends who, like you said, that are devout and, you know, and all that other stuff. But I also see a lot of my friends that have gone through, like, you know, abusive marriages or abusive family life and other things that were shamed into, you can't leave because it looks bad or because it's against this or against that. And I personally don't believe that God wants to watch his children living in fear and abuse. And I don't believe the God that I know is not the one who wants to see those bad things happen. So that's my little conflict. I don't hate it. I'm not against it.
I don't
bother anyone. It's like, hopefully no one gets offended and thinks this is like
not at all.
This is like a bad thing. It's just that for me personally, and that's the conversation I had with our friend here, was I let him know that was why. And it's not something I'm willing to. I like where I'm at with that, all of it.
The whole point wasn't even about what your stance is on religion.
No,
it was the story about
the manipulation.
How you sat in church.
I did. I felt
and read from scripture, but they left some stuff out, even though they're reading from the same book. They left some of it out.
I know.
Entire point of what I was trying to get to. We're not talking about whether we believe, don't believe, or any of that stuff, right?
Very manipulative.
This is, but in some cases, I understand they're trying to pull the moral of a story out, and if you're explaining it from that standpoint, it's fine, right? I think getting the moral of a story and the essence of something out and explaining it, and I'm going to use the term paraphrasing. There's nothing wrong with that, but purposely omitting things that are in there can be manipulative depending on how it's being used and how it's being presented. And you know, the argument, I guess, would be, again, for the greater good. You know, in going back to Jehovah's Witness, what they leave? They'd leave the Watchtower magazine, and it was all like, I feel like it was like doomsday stuff. It felt like, you know, every time they would leave this leaflet on your porch or in your mailbox or something like that, they weren't very thick. They'd have different ones. They'd get left in your mailbox or something, and it would say, you know, it felt very doomsday. Like you'd read it and you're like, oh my God, if I don't start doing this now, I'm going to hell. And, you know, I don't know what's right or wrong. But that's literally, it's right there, you know, and propaganda is nothing but manipulation.
I know.
So, you know, us at the United States as a country, and I love our country, obviously, but we've done it. We've done it in other countries where we have a specific goal in mind. And, you know, one could argue that those goals were for other reasons other than freedom, right?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of things in the name of freedom. And we agree with freedom, right? We agree with being able to worship the way we want to be able to worship. You know,
marry
democracy,
who we want to meet,
marry who we want, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But is that right for all countries? Well, we've taken the moral high ground to say, yeah, we think it is. So we're going to, when we feel a country or a society is being oppressed, we're going to go in, and from the inside, we're going to manipulate everything to get them to have a coup and overthrow the government and get it to where it's a democratic government. And I think ultimately, if some of those things, if it was for democracy and freedom and it changed them for the better, I would say I 100% agree with the idea of that. But I feel like a lot of times it's not. And this is going back to the conspiracy side, right? But I mean, we've done lots of shitty things as a country, even to our own people, over the last 150 years. But I think, you know, it's done with another purpose in mind, whether we wanted something out of it, we needed something out of it. That's usually
what it is.
You know,
that's usually what manipulation is.
I know
somebody wants something, needs something.
So ultimately, we could, you know, manipulate the situation if we felt like what was going to be. So let's say we see a country where people are being mistreated, right? They're being enslaved, they're being mistreated, they're being oppressed.
Yeah.
And we know that through a transition, their lives could be better and free and be able to make the decisions and do the things they want and prosper, create businesses. You know, women can vote. They don't have to cover up their faces, whatever the case may be. Then, okay. You know, I'm okay with
you're
manipulating that situation. But I think we do it with an ulterior motive a lot of the time because there's resources or it's going to benefit us in some way. It's not just about benefiting them. I don't think we ever do something that just benefits them.
Is win-win-win really a bad thing though? Like I've had conversations with people where I'll say, hey, you've got something I want, I've got something you want. Let's work on this together and we both win.
Win-win-win is not bad when everybody knows that it's happening. But we do it and they don't know it's happening because we go out and we create this internal, we've created, again, it's propaganda.
But if their lives are better, didn't they still win?
They didn't know that. Some of them don't know that this is they're not on the same page. They're not on the same page. Win-win-win that you're talking about, like in a deal, everybody's having a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And we're discussing that, okay, if I do this for you and you do this for you and you do this for me, we all win here.
Right.
Everybody's happy. Everybody prospers.
Yeah.
But in a lot of these other cases, we're going in and sprinkling information. We're sprinkling little information into their head and then we keep peppering it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's no different than real estate marketing. Let's use real estate marketing as an example. What do they tell us? They tell us a lot of times, if you're going to do mailers, it takes how many mailers to get in front of a person before they pay attention to it. That means you have to you have to spend money on a mailer to get it in front of them in order for them, you know, the fifth or sixth time it's in front of them, they'll go, oh, look at this. You know, you've sent them 6 other ones, but now they're like, oh, look, I just noticed this, for them to start to pay attention.
Right.
It's they've seen them.
Right.
They've looked at them.
Yeah.
But they went,
Right.
6 times. Then they get that last one. They're like, oh, look at this. This looks like a good idea. When they've been told how many times now? It's just, it's slow. It's a trickle. It's a trickle manipulation.
Like, it's funny because it's literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Like literally everywhere.
It is everywhere. We should probably just give up now. Fuck it.
Not give up, but I actually have to laugh about it because now it's like when I hear someone, I'm like, are they manipulating me?
Yes. Let's go turn on the TV. And the fucking people are taking what the hell is that stupid ass the girls dancing on the TV, taking the medicine, and everybody's happy. But then it tells you your asshole's going to fall out if you take the medicine, right? Basically, obviously they don't
There's
say
like
asshole,
all kinds of other shit happening,
there's all these crazy ass side effects, but they're happy as shit on that TV. So in your brain, you're looking at it and you hear the music and you drown out the guy talking about the bad things in the background.
Not me.
And then the blurry, if it's not,
I'll mute it, stop it, so I could read all.
You can read the fine print unless it's on, a non-HD channel, and then you can't see that shit because it's all blurry. So, hey, drug companies, start putting your shit on non-HD channels so that it's all blurry. Nobody can read the bad stuff, but they're doing it to you right there. They're doing it.
That's why I didn't use my advertising degree, because I realized after I graduated, I'm like, wait, I thought I was going to be Angela Bauer doing all these fun advertising jingles and all this other stuff. Yeah, it wasn't even close. It was going to be, hey, Tina, you're going to be selling things to overweight people by tugging on their heartstrings and making them feel guilty and making them feel less like a person and doing whatever, so that they'll buy a product that isn't really going to work, and that's going to be like the millionth thing that they try that makes them dig even deeper. And I was like, I remember going, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, I didn't think it was that way.
Right.
But I didn't want to be someone who manipulated people for a living, that was going to try to convince people to buy something that they didn't need, and made them think that they needed it. Just wasn't, that was not what I thought I was signing up for with advertising. So but that's advertising is
right. And I have a
TikTok, very manipulative.
Oh God, don't even. Yeah.
Very manipulative.
I have a example, but for those people that are under 40, who the hell is Angela Bauer?
Angela Bauer's from Who's the Boss. She was the boss who owned an advertising agency.
She worked for one and then she started owning it. Do you know there's somebody Bauer out there going,
agency.
Who the fuck is Angela Bauer?
Yeah. It was her and Tony Danza.
Tony Danza, right. He was her.
It's a good show, by the way.
He was her housekeeper. He lived in the house. It was a great show. You can go watch it on Amazon. But
she did fun. She would pull up her boards with. Okay, anyway, I digress.
No, I agree with you. It was
That's what
interesting.
I thought it was.
So,
but it was not. It was very manipulative.
Well, it all was even back then. I mean, if you go back and think about a fucking Prel commercial back in the 80s, or Herbal Essence, or there were so many different things even back when we were younger. It sell you on the idea that this is going to make your life easier.
I know.
That's the whole purpose of all of it.
I
know. The example I have is not specific to me, except it was something that I read once. And this is going back quite a while when I worked for the IT company, and I was really into the web design and graphic design side of things. It was a company that was, I don't think I ever talked about it on here, but this company did a couple of different things, and they would enhance experiences. Like, there was a example that they gave, and I think the article was kind of talking about like food chemistry and stuff like that, right? So this company helped a ice cream company in Las Vegas. It was in one of the casinos, but it was like downstairs, and they weren't getting any foot traffic to come down there because it was kind of down out of the way. What this company did was helped create a waffle cone scent that got emitted from it blew it out into the hallway. People would smell it and follow it and bring them into the business.
That's awesome. But that's
It's total manipulation. And then one other thing that I thought...
But it was a yummy treat at the end.
It was, right. There's right. Win. But I think there was another example that they gave, and it was the same company did this for a standalone like MRI place, right? This MRI place had a bunch of people that they had tons of people that would schedule, but then they would cancel. They get closer to the date and they would cancel. And it's because a giant MRI and that kind of shit is scary for people, right? So what they did was they went in there. The place was very clinical. The machine is daunting when they see it. You know, it's big and it's noisy and it's scary and it's very clinical. So they went in and changed the whole place to have like a beach theme. So everything had this beach theme in the office. They painted the MRI machine with a beach scene and theme and stuff. And in the office, they literally, again, with aroma, they had these emitters that would make it smell like the ocean or the beach. Whenever people would come in, they would instantly be more relaxed and comfortable. And their bookings, their cancellations went way down.
Interesting.
Because it made it a more comfortable environment for them. And ultimately that was for their own good as well. Of course, yeah. There was, you know, and let's talk about the medical industry and manipulation. We don't even have enough time for this shit.
Let's not talk about that.
No, but the whole point is they were doing this because it was for their good.
It is for people's health.
For their own good, but they're still messing with their heads. You know, they're still manipulating them.
Well, that's why I say it's literally everywhere. We are being manipulated like every day.
Right.
So I mean, it's that's why sometimes it's not. I think if we're determining what it is and we understand it, it's like we have more control over it. That was the whole point of this, right? Was that like I know when I'm talking to someone and manipulating them to do what I want them to do.
Right.
Just like I'm sure everyone else that's doing the same thing back, whether it's to me or whoever. But the funny thing is I'll say, I know what you're trying to do and laugh about it.
Right.
Because
so what was that? What was the show? What was the movie?
Oh, that was Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're doing and I don't like it. But I don't mind. Again, you know, like just tell me why I should tell me why I should do this or whatever. Yeah. Like I don't need like the dog and pony show to manipulate me. Right. Just tell me what you want from me and we're good.
Right.
So I think that's the part that I struggle with now that I've seen it. It's like needing, you looked at a Toyota and now there's every car you see is a Toyota, like that thing. Like now it's like everything I see is fucking manipulation, like literally everywhere.
Sorry, I didn't mean to burst that bubble
it's like blows my mind. But I remember already, like between that stuff with church and then and advertising, which all happened right around the same time, like
right.
And as a young adult, I was like, damn, I was not looking to be controlled, not by my family, not by my faith, not by my friends, not by my boyfriend, like nobody. Like I wanted to be myself and live my life the way I wanted to live it. So the funny part is then you go way over to the other side of no one's going to manipulate me, So.
Well, and I say this and, I said it to you, I think last week or something. And I don't remember exactly what it was about, but I compared you to that wild Mustang that's pinned up, waiting to get out just so you can run around the fucking fields.
I was driving on. Yes. I got stuck in that bullshit on 88.
You got stuck in a bunch of traffic, and then I said, once you get to the open part, you're going to be like, I said, just take it easy because you're going to want to do 110 miles an hour.
You called me a wild Mustang.
Yeah. But you are that way.
I am.
I mean, you are that way. You don't want to be penned up.
No.
And I don't think necessarily everybody, that's probably not the right thing to say, because I think some people are very comfortable being penned up.
They are, and they want people to tell them what to do. And right. They want to be led to things. And you
are on the extreme end of the spectrum when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's who you are. That's who you've always been. You're your own person.
Yeah, 100%.
And that in itself is very unique compared to anybody else. Lots of people want to say, well, I'm that way too. I'll probably give you about 10 ways in about 5 minutes that you're not. It's not the same. You and I are not the same, right? It's that saying. That's not to say that you don't want that, right? For people. But you're at that far end of the spectrum. So when we talk about stuff, I stop you and I go, okay, hang on.
Yeah.
You have to, it's difficult. And I think it's more difficult for you to put yourself into other people's shoes sometimes because you are so far on that other end of the spectrum.
And I want to be like,
yeah, you want to just shake them, right? You want to pit bull them. You want to grab them and just shake and shake and shake. Yeah. So, I feel like coming more towards the middle of the spectrum, maybe, folks, the manipulation isn't, yes, it's everywhere. It's not all bad.
No, it's really
right?
not.
It's not all bad.
No.
It's just, it's almost like a constant series of negotiations.
Yeah.
And all for the betterment of yourself and other people and that kind of thing. It's when the manipulation becomes negative and controlling that you have to recognize it.
Well, the guilt and the shame and all the other. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because it's not healthy.
Nope.
It's not healthy for you. So when your Nona is like trying to, guilt you into eating that last plate of spaghetti and the fucking button on your shirt is about to bust and you've already unbuttoned your pants and you can't do it anymore. They're don't eat the fucking thing, right? Don't eat it. Yes.
That's easier said than
they slaved over it all day long. You got to hear it. I cooked sauce all day long.
I know.
But you don't have to do it, and I say that because I laugh because as kids we were done. It was the same thing, right? Finish all your food, your food. And, we weren't designed to do that, but that was because, well, you got the manipulation of there's starving kids in Africa, and then you turn on the TV and sure as shit, there's fucking starving kids in Africa that I got to send my money to because they're, I need to send them a bag of rice that'll last them for 30 days for $2.06. I'd made all that stuff up, but kind of. But the point is
that was
right.
the manipulation.
So you turned on the TV and here it was. Oh shit, my parents were correct. I need to clean my plate. And now I sit here with, a eating problem, right? I ate 2 good sized pieces of pizza earlier and some brownies and something else. And I went, I still want to eat more. Why the fuck do I want to eat more? Like, because I was taught all this shit and manipulated as a kid that I had to do this, And they created a monster, cookie monster.
So
anyway,
funny.
I know I went on a tangent there, but I'm back. I'm back.
Funny.
He's back. Anyway, so yeah, it's important to pay attention to.
I think it's funny
what
now.
The manipulation
I laugh
is.
now when it's when I hear someone trying to manipulate me. I actually laugh now.
Yeah,
it feels less threatening.
It is less threatening.
It feels less threatening, which is what I was trying to say earlier. Is when you're not scared of something, it's less threatening because now you understand it. When you understand it, you don't have. 100%. So this is what I always explain to people that don't know me.
Yeah,
and they're meeting me and they have no idea what the fuck to do with me. Just be honest with me. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Be honest. Tell me whatever it is you need to tell me. I might not like it and I might not agree with it.
Yeah.
But I will understand it.
Right.
And I will respect it.
Right.
Because of that reason. I don't have to agree with everything. I might not like it and I might not agree with it, but it's what is. Yeah. Right? And that's the reality. Like, that's the fair way to do it. There's a lot of things I don't like and I don't agree with on a daily basis. Right. However, I understand it. When I don't understand it is when I feel pissed. There's that fear. There's that, you want to, fight back and get angry because you don't know. But as soon as you understand it, you're like, oh, that's really not as bad as I thought it was. Right.
Right.
That's why I'll always take the time to look for things, to find out the real answers. Why did this happen? How can we correct it so it doesn't happen again in the future? Because you also have to give the opportunity to make the corrections for things. You don't just blow up and flip your table over and walk away. Right. You have to understand it so it doesn't happen again. Right? And typically it won't if you do it, if you understand it, if you handle it the correct way.
And this goes back to what we talked about previously about living it more than once, right?
Yeah.
You get pissed off about something or stressed out about it because you don't have all the answers. You're unnecessarily putting your body through something that you haven't actually experienced yet. And then ultimately it doesn't happen. But guess what? You actually did experience it because
you went through the feeling.
Allowed yourself to get taken to that place.
Right.
So, and it's just not good for you. You know, you can't control it.
No.
And if you try to control something, try to control, the only thing you control is how you react to it. So
right. Easier said than done sometimes.
It is 100%. So there's no judgment.
It's definitely something you have to actively work at.
I still have it.
Me too. I have to actively work at it.
But you know, if you know that and you can reserve your reactions without holding it in and being nervous and anxious by holding it in, you're going to be better off, because if what you think is going to happen doesn't happen, then you're good.
Yeah.
Right. And if it does, okay, then you deal with it when it occurs. You can't, you know, and if you have to have a process ahead of time with thinking about it, do that, but then be done with it. Don't consistently work it over in your brain over and over and over and over again, because you're exhausted from it. And then when it doesn't happen, you've just wasted a lot of energy, created a whole lot of stress. And I can't even imagine what that does to like cortisol and all kinds of shit in your body. You know, who knows?
Right.
You know, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But anyway, so it'd be cool if anybody has a manipulation story that they'd like to share with us. We would love to hear it. You know, send it to us, realshowertalk@gmail.com.
Also,
yes,
these are our opinions.
Oh yeah, no shit. It's an entertainment podcast.
Yes, they're our opinions. We are very respectful of everybody's differences.
Yeah.
Whatever they may be, physical, mental,
right,
gender, race, religion, anything there is. So hopefully the experiences that we share those are our experiences. Those are not things that we're telling other people to do.
No. But our opinions
feel
are right.
Or whatever. Yeah, right.
But our opinions are right.
But I'm just saying that I just want people to understand that we're literally just sharing our experiences.
And this is why we ask for your side too, because
absolutely,
if you have a great example, we'll talk about it on here, you know, and we can keep you anonymous or not, you know, use your first name or read your first name backwards or something. Code.
But we're grateful.
Yeah, send it to us.
Yeah, no, so we're great, and we are grateful for the feedback we get. But I just wanted to make sure that people understood. If people really know us, they know that we're open to everybody.
Yeah,
and that for us, it's literally is about letting people be themselves and them letting us be ourselves, and you know, giving everybody the freedom to do as they choose and whatever, and not have to hate each other because there's those differences.
Right.
So hopefully, not to sound like Miss America, but hopefully someday there will be world peace.
God. Jesus. Thank you, Gracie.
I just saw Miss
Congeniality
yesterday or 2 days ago.
Whatever her name is.
Anyway. No, but I just wanted to say that hopefully people understand those are just examples and experiences, and in no way, shape, or form are we judging anyone for having certain beliefs or non-beliefs or whatever. We love and respect everyone for who they are always. So just wanted to say that.
Okay. Well, thank you. So again, if you have a story, reach out to us, realshowertalk@gmail.com. Facebook, Real Shower Talk. And Instagram,
real.shower.talk.
Right. So
until next time.
Yeah, it's my line. The fuck.
Bye.